Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're playing Ampersandwich. So essentially I've been going back and taking a look at all the puzzles, kind of the highest rated puzzles throughout December that I hadn't featured as we were focused on the Christmas specials. And this is amongst them. It's got a phenomenal rating, something like 93%, although by the time I added it to the back, it's 95%. So a stunningly high rating. Now, I would warn you that many of these highly rated puzzles, though, are a little bit harder. So this today is a 2-star puzzle, but I'm hoping that many of you are indeed on holidays, or at least, you'll have the weekend to take a little bit more time to try and solve this one if it indeed requires it. What else do I need to say about this? So we'll take a look at the rules in a second, but it is very much about stuffing the digits 1 to 9, stuffing the digits 2 to 8 between a sandwich of 1 to 9. So that's a lot of digits, and I just can only imagine a giant sandwich. That's the only way I can think of it. And please, for the regular viewers from the US, please forgive the fact that I can only imagine a giant sandwich in a diner setting. We don't have sandwiches that really look like this in the UK, but it really does look very delicious. Hopefully, the puzzle will be even more fun than this. Let's take a look at it now. So, we have Ampersandwich by LMDemasi. Now, I think we've seen LMDemasi's puzzles before, and in general, he always has very clever puzzles that you just need to think a little bit harder about. And let's take a look. So, I guess the ampersand is sort of the star of the show, which you can kind of see here with these in-between lines, and I guess kind of the rest of the ampersand here. So it's almost an ampersand, except it's turned into a sandwich. Yeah, if none of that makes sense, let's take a look at the rules. We've got regular Sudoku rules apply, so that means place the digits 1 to 9 in every row, in every column, and in every box as outlined by these thicker back lines. And then we have the sandwiches, which I'm pretty sure we featured before on this channel. But just a quick reminder of what these are. The numbers outside the grid indicates the sum of the numbers between 1 and 9 in that row or column. So this, I'm going to have to pick on something here, and I'm sorry if I'm partially solving it. This 12 here, somewhere along this line, you're going to find the digits 1 to 9. I mean, that's Sudoku. One of them, let's say this is a 1, is in here, and the other one is out there, a 9. Now the digits between them, whatever they may be, need to sum up to 12. That's really the only constraint of what I've just described. So that would be 1, 9, for example. I could do 3, 4, 5, and that would meet essentially that 12 constraint and that for that sandwich. Now, I know as I'm explaining it, I'm looking at this puzzle and I'm thinking, there's really not enough information to solve this, but let's keep going. We also have a non-repeating between lines. So cells along the lines between the two circles must have values between those in the circles. And digits may not repeat along a line. So I think that's the twist on the normal between lines, is that the digits cannot repeat. So for example, we've got 2 circles in here and a line between them. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So imagine that's the digits here. Let's not imagine, let's write them in. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That means I can put the digits 1 and 8 on either side, and that would be an absolutely appropriate fill for that non-repeating between lines. So essentially, everything on the line must be between the digits in these 2 circles. I mean, that's a bit confusing by having 18, but 1 and 8. And then essentially I have a run of 2 through to 7. No repeating digits, that's the emphasis on that. That's going through this. In fact, I've actually broken it because the 3, 4, 5 is looking at this cell. So there is a few restrictions here, but not many. So if you feel like taking a bite of this Ampersandwich, that feast that you saw in this thumbnail, and you're not intimidated by what I've just explained, because I'm feeling intimidated personally, link will be in the description down below as usual for you to play along. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. Hopefully well. So are these in-between lines all 8 cells long? I mean, if there's one that's 1 to, 7 cells long. If there's one that's 8 cells long, did that even make sense? 6 cells long. If there's one that's 7 cells, that would be phenomenal because that would be forced. But I don't know if we're going to be that lucky. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even less. Is that really? Yep, that is less. That's 5. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So none of them are really forced. Okay. 6, we can work with 6 though. I'm going to say we can work with 6 because at least, excuse me, if we have 6, as I've shown in this earlier example, and just work with me just so I sort of try and illustrate this. So imagine that this is, in the digits 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You can see immediately that I need at least a 1 and an 8. And it doesn't matter, I mean, it's not ordered. I could do the 8 and 1 that way. So what I think this is saying is we know that at least, and I emphasize at least, because 1 and 9 here doesn't break anything. The fact that I haven't placed an 8 on this in-between cell, on this in-between line, doesn't make any, it's not an issue. But what it's saying is that for all of these 4 circles are actually in an X-wing, funnily enough, with an X almost between them. One of them on each row has to be 1 or 9, which I'm going to color red. Often I do with sandwich cells, Sudoku, is that I color kind of the 1 and 9 as red and then everything else as green, because that just allows me to at least exclude a few things. Let's just put it that way. So I think the other thing that I can do is 1 and 9 can never be on an in-between line. Because if I try and put a 1 on here, what this is in essence saying is that there is a 0 in one of these circles, which is, as we know, impossible under normal Sudoku rules. So essentially, all of these lines, I think literally all of them, are green. I can't put 1 or 9 in any of these. Okay. And the fact that this is 6 cells, we've got the same thing here. At least one of these is 1 or 9. And the fact that it's bounded by a green cell and I have a 0 sandwich clue tells me that, like almost dead certain, this is 1 or 9. And then there's potentially a second 1 or 9 either side of it. So I don't know which one it is. What I know is this is 1 or 9. And then this could be 2, 8, or this could be 1, 9. I don't know. And the reason I know that is the 0 is telling us that the 1 and 9 in this row are right next to one another. The fact that I have a green cell in here and a definite 1 or 9 between these two pairs tells me that that the 1s and 9s are in this box, box 9, on the bottom row, and I need a run of 2 cells. So it's either this 2 or these 2. Whichever one it is, this is definitely going to be one of them. And then all of these are green. Can't have 1 or 9 on any of them. Now, because one of these 2 is red, as in one of them is a 1, one of them is a 9, all of these are also green. I can't have 1 or 9 in there either. And I think it's probably worthwhile carrying on with the sandwich clues for a second. So let's think about the 4 and the 13, since, we're already down here in this section in the puzzle. Excuse me, I really need to clear my throat a bit. Not sure what's going on here. I'm going to pause the video. Right, sorry about that. Right, where were we? So how about I just think out loud? We know that one of these is 109. I also know that it's not both of them. And I know that because this sandwich clue requires a 4 as a sum between it. And remember, I don't have the digits 1 or 9 available. So I can't even do 4 in 2 cells because 1, 3 is not available, the 1 is not available. So essentially what I have is a red cell that's 109 with a 4 immediately adjacent to it, and then another red cell. And because essentially I've colored all of these cells as green, what I feel is pretty certain is one of these is 109. We know that we started this. Then one of these cells is a 4. And then there is a 1 or 9 in here. And the reason I feel as confident as that is if this cell is the 109, that's 4, that's the second 109. The other possibility is this is the 109, but I can't go right, because if I put a 4 in here, I'm going to have to put a 109 on an in-between line, which we already established is impossible. So if this is the red, this has to be the 109 with a 4 in here. This is very clever from LMDemasi. I mean, like, not a ton of clue, but just about enough to make you sort of squeeze through, so to speak. And I think the 13 is going to solve this one. So let me show you what I mean by that. If the 109 is this side, so 1919 with a 4, then the only place that I can have a 1 and 9 in row 8 is in here. Because, I've already placed 2 in box 7, so this would have to be green, this would be red, and kind of Bob's your uncle. But then supposedly this one cell has to add up to 13, which we all know is impossible. So the only way this would have worked is this isn't the 1 or 9, this is, and then essentially I have 1 and 9 spread between these 2 green cells. And I deliberately picked 2 cells because, I can only place 1 9 in each box. So essentially, that becomes green because that's the red. That's the only place in box 7 for the second 1 9. And if I place the red all the way over here, that's way too many cells for 13. That's 4 cells, which doesn't even include a 1. So 2, 3, 4, 5 would be the minimum, which is 2, 3, 4. Thankfully, 14. Just too big for 13. So that answers that. Kind of glad I actually checked that, because for a second I was a little bit worried it will add up to 13 and both are options. So that gives us a 4. That's, goodness me, 4 minutes at the first digit. And that is green. These are green. And we're good. Now, because this is, actually even better, because this is not 1 or 9, it's 2 or 8. Let me again explain that. So if this is 1 or 9, if these two are 1 or 9, this is not 1 or 9. Now if I choose any other digit that is not 1 or 9, even if I make this 1 or 9, so I'm going to make up some digits, 1 and 7, that's not enough between them. I need 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I don't have a place for a 7 because I've already written it in the circles. So I mean, this is still an extreme digit that is not 1 or 9. It's got to be 2 or 8, otherwise we won't have enough room. And to make sure there is enough room, this has to be the 1 or 9. That's the second one here, so all of these are green. That's 2 or 8. That's 1 or 9. I mean, I'm kind of regretting the fact that I have the same colors. Sort of going to give this one an orange flash, and therefore this is red. This is red. This will be an orange flash. This will be red. So if you see that, we've got two different colors looking at this 1, 9. So it's neither. It's not 1. It's not 9. This has to be 2 or 8. And therefore, we're going to have essentially a run of digits. Once I figure out whether this is 1 or 9, and I'm not actually sure how we're going to go about doing that, if I'm honest. We've got essentially a run of digits that we have to place in here. And it will be fixed. If that's 1 and 8, it's essentially a run of 2 to 7. And it's even like the different opposites on this one. So it's quite interesting. Is it the 13 that's going to help us here? So I can't do... Oh, hang on. It's got to be the 6. Hasn't it? For example, this 6 here, I need to have a 6 between this 1 and 9. And I can't put a 1 or 9 all the way up here and then have all of these cells add up to 6. So I think this is a 1, 9. This is our second digit. That's green. That's green. And then this cell here, just Sudoku, where is it? It's got to be in here. That's 1, 9. And then we've got a red one in one of these two cells. And we've got a red one in one of these two cells. I have no idea what these are. How am I going to disambiguate these is a very interesting question. So to get to 13, I have two options. Remember, 9, 4 is not available. Actually, here is a much better one. Come on, Sleuth. This 6 is what disambiguates things. I've got two cells now between this 1, 9. I don't know why I looked at this cell and not that 6. And because it's two cells, well, we know it's not 1, 5. 1 is gone. It's got to be 4, 2. So that's got to be the 4. That's got to be the 2 because of this 4. The fact that I have a 2 in here, now that's an 8. That's a 2. That's got to be the 1. And that's going to be consistently the 1. That's going to be the 9s. That's going to be the 1s. That's a ton of digits now. Lovely. Then we have an option in here which is, as I was saying earlier, 5 and 8 and 6 and 7, but in only one direction because of this 6. And then we actually know all of these digits because we know it's between 2 and 9, and we know that these digits are between 1 and 8. Now, we know that this is, well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's very tempting to think that this is 9, but it's at least 8 or 9. And the reason I say that is, best case scenario, this is 6, 7. I still need to have the 7 between a 1 and something. So this is 8 or 9. So this is a high digit, 8 or 9. If you remember, we said this needs to be a run of kind of, two adjacent cells of 1, 9 so that there's a 0. So even if this is an 8, this is still going to be forced to be a 1 because we've got these 6 cells. If that's a 9, then we're satisfied and that becomes green. And we'll figure that out in a bit, but essentially that's definitely a 1. I'll carry on with the flash. And I guess one of these would be a 9. One of these would be a 9. Let's just see if we can actually finish most of these. It's ambitious. No, I'm not sure we can actually. Sorry, I'm just looking around thinking, is there any other 1, 9s that I can do? And I think the answer is not really. I mean, maybe with this, this 10, come on, Sleuth. 10 in 3 cells at a minimum has to be 2, 3, 5, because 1 is not available. That's the 9. And all of these are now green. The fact that this is 9 gives me this 9. And this is also now turning green. This is all turning green. Now I need a 9 in between these two cells, and this 9 tells me the order. That's the last, well, not the last 9. Got one more 9 in one of these two cells, depending on what's going on down there. Then I need 1s. Where am I putting the 1s? I don't really have anything else to help me disambiguate some of this. Yeah, 2, 3, 5. I mean, may as well. Sort of tempting to pencil mark this, and I probably will in a second. What is this? This is, I say a second and does it immediately. This is 3, 5, 7, and 6. And 2, 3, 5 are looking in here. This is not 3, 5. This is just purely 6, 7. Then one of these is a 1. Yeah, the 1s are just not very interesting right now. Right, so in between cells, I think this is the way to go next. Yeah, I can't see anything else if I'm honest. Let's just think about some of the more restricted digits. And when I say the more restricted digits, for example, I need to place on this line a 4. And you can see because of this 4, it's not in here, and because of this 4, it's not in there. So essentially, I have a 4 definitely in one of these 3 cells. What else do I need to do? 6. Can't put it in either of these. Can't put it in here. One of these is a 6. I'm not sure if I'm going to corner pencil mark these or not, especially since I'm doing it across boxes, but it's kind of unavoidable. Yeah, I also need a 2 in here, and the options for 2 are pretty limited. We also need a 4, and again the 4 eliminates all of these, eliminates all of this. This is just a 4 in here now, because I need a 4 on this, and this 4 eliminates it. This 4 eliminates all of these, and this, because of this 4, that's the only place for a 4 that removes a 2. So there's a 2 definitely in here on this box. What else do we need? 6. Well, 6, unfortunately, is in a few different places. I was going to say a few different places, but it's actually placed. And I say that because, I mean, take a look at the line. Here are all the candidate cells for 6. Eliminate all the ones just because of this 6 with Sudoku, and I'm left with these 2 cells. Now, if I put a 6 in here, notice I'm breaking the options for 6 for the 2 options for the 6 on this in-between line. These were the only 2 options. So that wouldn't be the 6. That's got to be the 6. That actually eliminates this 6, and we put another one in here. This is very clever stuff, LMDemasi. I mean, it's very carefully constructed, and that gives us our 9. Because you see, that 6 and that 6 now eliminates 6, 7 as an option for the 13 sandwich. Now that I have an 8 on here, sorry, I'm making the same mistake. That's the circle. I thought it was connected to a 1. So it's not. It's connected to a 2. And the fact that we have an 8 on this line means this is the 9. That's going to be green. That's the 1-9 pair. Now the last set of 9s is up here. And we'll figure out where it is in a little bit later, but just incredible stuff. Right, have we done anything with the 4s? Yeah, this 4 gives me it's one of these 2 cells now, and the 2 is not really resolved. I think we're going to have to start thinking elsewhere. So this was 5 cells, and the remaining options are, well, 3, 6, and 7, I'm going to say. And we need 2 of these that are obviously unique. They're even in the same box. 4, you can see, is down here, which gives me a 4 in there. I mean, 2, 3, 5, it's not And the fact that this is 1 or 9 and it's only 6 cells, I don't have to have all of the digits 1 to 9 in here. But maybe if I just tidy this up a little bit, because I've got no 2s, no 5s. Am I really going to write all of this in, all the possibilities? I may as well do. So the options include, it's not 2, 3, it could be a 4, but only in this cell, because these two C's, these 4s. It's not 5, it could be 6, pretty much in any of these cells, but not this one. This one is actually quite restricted. This is 7 or 8, and I guess any of these could be 7 or 8, unfortunately. So this one, this is not an 8, because we've got a 5-8 pair in here. You know, you make a bit of breakthrough in this puzzle, and you think, right, it'll go easy on me now, and it really doesn't. Right, maybe it's time to think about... So we've done the 0, the 30, and the 4, this 6, and this 10. So given I'm sort of running out of clues, if I'm honest, the only place that's left to think about is the 12. Now, I've demonstrated earlier that the 12 can be, so it can be as little as 2 cells between the 9s and 1s, or as much as 3 cells. Now, I think with 4 cells, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the minimum, and that adds up to 14. So, yeah, it's essentially 2 or 3 green cells. So, one option is this is the 9, and then this would be, I guess, the 1. Actually, I mean, I don't need to have red in these. Orange is fine, isn't it? Yeah. So that would be one possibility, but it can't be because I have a 6 in here. And that would require a second 6 to make it add up to 12. So this is like a nonsense option. And I think if I have a red in here and an orange all the way there, that's back to 4 cells, including a 6, mind you. And I can't have 1, 2, 3 in here to make that add up to 6. So that's just not going to work. I could have done 2, 4 if I was allowed, but the 4s again don't give me that option, and that's already green. So I think we have pretty much disproven this as a 9. And therefore this is the 9, that's the last 9. And now we need at least 2 cells that are green. And it can't be 4 cells. So that can't be the 1. This has to be the 1, which gives me a 1 in here, which gives me a 1 in there, which gives me a 1 here. I think that's all the 1s and 9s done. Isn't it? That's 9 of them, and 9 of them. Now we need to make whatever is going on in here add up to 12. And the options are, now that 9 is not available, 9, 3 is gone, 4, 8 is a possibility, and 3, 9 is gone, 5, 7 is a possibility, but because of this 5s here, the possibility can only be 5 and 7. How has that helped me, if I'm honest? I mean, it's helped me fill in all the 1s and 9s, but... So what's going on with this box? What it's telling me, though, is there's a 2 in here. That's not a 2. That is the 2. Come on, I'm sure it's telling me more than that. Is that just 3, 5, 7? I mean, I may as well write them in. I mean, not write them in, pencil mark them in. In fact, I may as well do the entirety of this line. This is 3, 5, 7. Because I've essentially written in everything else. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to 8. What about this one? So I need probably 3, 5s, and 7s plus the 4. So the 3, 5s, and 7s. No, I need one more digit. What is that digit? The 8. Where is the 8? It's none of these. It's one of these though. I can't really eliminate anything. That's the one of the 357s. I've got one of them, I've got two of them, and then one of these remaining cells that's 4s or 8s is in the third 357 on this 2 to 9 in between line. Come on, that's a 2, just Sudoku. Eliminating all of these 2s, and I can't have another 2 on this line because of the in-between line. So this is the only place for a 2 in this box. So we have a 4 or an 8, and then a 357. Now we need an 8 in this box, and it can only be in here. Eliminating an 8 from there. That's the only place left for a 4. That's the third 357 on the line. Because, you know, I needed 3 of these on the 2 to 9 line. And I end up with a triplet, which probably will help me quite a bit figure out what else is going on. That's a 357 in here as well. That's another triplet, giving me not a 4. I should be able to write whatever this digit is though. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is a 6. That's not a 6. What else do I have in here? 3 and 7. Yeah. So there's a world of 357s, and it feels like the way to resolve it is either this line or this, not this 10, this 12. This 12 will help. Because if this is 5, 7, that would be a 3. That would be fine, actually. Let's try a different possibility. If this is 4, 8, I'd have another 3, 5, 7 triplet going on in here. Sure. And I'd have them going up here. And then I guess the 8 would be down there. And then this 3, 5, 7 triplet would force a 7 in here. I'd need 8 and 4 in there. I mean, so far it's working fabulously. And then I'd have 8 and 4, and then I would have 2 and something, 6. Which breaks the puzzle. That's incredible. Surely this is not the way to go about doing it. Yeah, I'm going to come back to this because that really feels more like bifurcation at this stage to me. I'm just going to see if I can just use a bit of Sudoku to whittle down the options a bit further before coming back to seeing that this is indeed 5, 7, not 4, 8. What can we do? Have I tidied this up to the absolute maximum? Probably. This in-between line, yeah, pretty much it's just the 12, the 6. And these 3, 5, 7s, actually this 8 tells me that this is a 5, this is an 8. This 5 eliminates a 5 from here. These are not 5 anyway. Doesn't really do a huge amount for me. One of these ends up being a 5. Kind of big deal. Nope. Let's just, like I said, do a bit of Sudoku. So this is not 1, 2, 3. I mean, it's almost certainly 4, 8. Or 6. So this is 4, 6, 8. And this is not a 4 because of this 4. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. So actually, we've got the same thing in here. This is a 2 with a 4 or 8. Well, it can be a 2 with a 6. Because if that's an 8-4 pair, I could still have 2, 6 in here. So that's an option. Forcing this to be a 7. I mean, going back down that bifurcation route. So that just, we'll leave it for a second. Any more Sudokus? 4s? Yeah, that's just a 4. just forced to be a 4. And the only place that's left for a 4 in here is now in there. 4, 8. Could have sworn I showed earlier that 4, 8 breaks, but apparently no, that's the right one. That's 3, 5, 7 triplet, which I think forces this to be a 6, forces this to be an 8, forces this to be a 7. These are not 7s. So I guess no, it is fine. This is then a 2, 6 pair, and therefore this is a 3, 5 pair. Okay, that's progress. 2 with a 2, 3, 5, that's a 6, that's a 2. That 2 was there for ages. I should have seen that earlier. That's got to be another 4, 8 to basically complete this column. That 8 tells me it's a 4, then an 8, then a 4. That's not a 4 anymore. That's a 4. That is just 6, 7, 8 to make sure that they are indeed unique on this in-between line. So in here, I need a second 3, 5 and a 2. And this 2 tells me that's the 2, that's the 3, 5. I need a second 3, 5. Actually, that's not a 2. The 3, 5 is going to be down here, so that's a 3, 5. I need a 7, 8, as well as a 6. And that 6 tells me this is the 6. This is the 7 or 8. Don't know which one it is. Then I have a 7 or 8 and a 3, 5 and down here. So I've got a second 3, 5. That's got to be the 2. I mean, I knew one of these is a 6 anyway, and then there's another 7, 8. I don't know how to place that just yet. The 3, 5, 7s, though, they are persisting. Kind of surprised I'm not able to resolve more of them. So, like 8s, you know, that there is an 8 in here. Neither of these are 8. One of these 2 is an 8. Which matches one of these 7, 8s. I mean, I'll just pencil mark that. This can't be a 6. You can see just along the row, where does 6 go? And 6 is in one of these 2 cells, and it's in none of these cells. So that's the only place for a 6. Therefore, that's a 7. That's an 8. That's got to be an 8. That's a 3, 5. An unresolved 3, 5, of course. Although a 3, 7 tells me it is resolved. That's a 5, that's a 3, that's a 5, that's a 3, that's a 5, that's a 3, that's a 7. We're getting there. 3, 7 pair gives me a 2 in this section. Only place for a 6 in this column is in here. That's a 3, 7, which could be either on this in-between line. I need a second 3, 7 with a 5. That 5 tells me that's the 5. That's the 3, 7. Except it says 3 because of the 7. That's 3. That's 7. That's 3. That's 7. That's 3. None of these are 3. That's not a 3. That's not a 3. We're making progress for sure. That's not 3 or 7. That's a 5. These are not 5s now. Right, what else do we have in here? We have an 8. That 8 can only be in there. That can only be a... Well, it's not 3, 5, or 7. It's a 2. So what have I got on this row from 3, 5, and 7? I've got 5s. These are not 5s. Oh, I've already got unique ones. That's a 3 on this line. So that's 7, that's 5. That will probably give me the puzzle now. Yep, that's a 3, that's a 7, that's a 3. That's got to be the 7, the 5. And if I've not made any mistakes, a 3 and a solution to today's puzzle. It's a phenomenal puzzle, LMDemasi. I don't know if it really should have taken me 34 minutes. I don't know if that's because I spent a bit of time doing a lot of explanations. But yeah, this is probably something that people should solve in about 25, I think. And with the recent Christmas series, I feel like you guys are probably up to the challenge now of slightly harder puzzles on the regular. But it was a beautiful puzzle. I hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. See you back for the next one. Bye-bye for now.